Hey movie junkies, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Twin Flex, where we always here celebrating the magic of movies and most importantly, physical media with you. Now I've had a lot of people DM me over the past day asking me when is this comparison review coming out? And that is for Rocky 4K UHD, the Knockout Collection versus the 2014 Blu-ray. Be patient here because you have to understand, when I do these 4K comparison reviews, I'm watching the movie twice because I'm checking out all the differences, comparing it between the 4K and the Blu-ray. So when you've got a collection like this that's essentially 5 movies because of Rocky IV, the director's cut, I'm watching this movie 9 times. And I'm not going to half-ass it, guys. I really want to dig in and really compare the differences between the 4K and the Blu-ray to let you know if it's worth shelling out your money to upgrade, to pick up. So I'm hoping to have it up by the end of the week, if not the first of next week. But today we're not talking about those movies. Instead, we're talking about this, Training Day on 4K UHD, comparing it to the Blu-ray. Now, I've already been seeing some people complaining on social media and been hearing reports of this new color grading on the 4K UHD that pushes towards more of a greenish teal color rather than what we had on the previous Blu-ray and also the DVD. But Training Day is just another casualty and a good example of how a movie that has been on the DVD and Blu-ray market for so long, I think 20 years now, that unless you saw it in the theater, this is the color grading you would think was the intended color grading, what it should look like. Because honestly, you had nothing else to compare it to. Now, if you go back online and do some research, search for 2001 Training Day pictures, you will see that greenish, tealish tone in the screenshots that they had back in 2001. And I saw Training Day 3 times during its 2001 theatrical run, and I very clearly, distinctly remember Training Day having this slight greenish teal tone to it. And director Antoine Fuqua and his DP set the goal of showing the progression of the time of day during the film with these tones from sunrise to nighttime. The film begins after it's rained in the morning and it's overcast. And so these are just the natural tones that Training Day perfectly captured. And we didn't get that with the previous DVD and Blu-rays. It was changed. And with this 4K UHD, Warner Brothers decided to go back into the vault, get the original 35mm negative, and faithfully restore the film with a new native 4K DI and the improvements of HDR color grading, and bring it back to its original theatrical intended colors. Also, it's been a long-known fact that Training Day on both the DVD and the Blu-ray had the wrong aspect ratio, which is interesting as well, and I'll get more into that in my comparison review. So let's dive in and check out the differences between the 2006 Blu-ray and this new 4K UHD. And as usual, I have screenshots so you can compare the differences for yourself. Let's get to it. Now, the 2006 Blu-ray was sourced from the DVD master, and the Blu-ray was just awash with a bad MPEG-2 codec, crushed or grayish blacks, dull colors, muddy, inconsistent grain structure, edge enhancements. It's also been a long-known fact that both the DVD and Blu-ray aspect ratio was overly stretched out by 5 to 6%. So needless to say, Training Day was in very dire need of a new transfer, a whole new makeover. And this is exactly what Warner Brothers did. Finally bringing Training Day back to its intended color grading, presenting the film as close as possible to the theatrical presentation. Color reproduction is outstanding. Now colors are exactly how they were meant to be seen. Deep, vibrant cherry reds and crimson reds, overcast skylines, bright yellows and lusher greens, along with vastly improved highlights and secondary cues that all perfectly suits Training Day's colorful and gritty fuel world. It's just a major, major improvement in every direction. And the color palette, while it does lean towards a cooler green or tealish tones, it's not washed over with those tones. It's only used strictly, and I repeat, strictly when needed, and where those tones match the scope of the film. What's interesting is Antoine Fuqua and his DP use these teal tones for a purpose. It's used to enhance and create more of a vibrant effect that actually gives the image much more visually lifelike aesthetic. And this is exactly how Antoine Fuqua wanted you to experience the film. And the HDR10 Plus also creates higher dynamic for home viewing over the much flatter and duller Blu-ray. Skin tones look amazing. They are much warmer and lifelike, unlike the pasty pale tones in the Blu-ray. And say goodbye to those grayish blacks and all the crushing the Blu-ray was littered with. Now we have nice, deep, inky blacks. Alonso's black leather jacket now actually looks deep black. Also, we now have velvety increased shadows and shading that draws out much more, and I mean much more information in the frame, even in the darkest spots, including the nighttime scenes, which has much better delineation throughout. This is just a huge reference point with this 4K. Another huge reference point is with the improved level of details and texturals throughout, without any manipulative sharpness. The LA streets, buildings, sidewalks, alleyways all have a clearer, more distinct lines. We can clearly see all the grime and cracks on bricks and walkways, buildings. Also, the image stability is much stronger. No more frame judder or tidal optical instabilities that the DVD and Blu-ray suffered from. Also, the image is no longer a muddy, inconsistent mess with the grain structure. Now we have grain that's fully intact with no DNR scrubbing to be found. We have a nice, beautiful, thin layer of grain, giving its image a filmic appearance that also helps gives the image more depth and three-dimensionality to it. And the best part, along with the new video makeover, Warner Brothers also sprung for a much needed audio upgrade from its very dated Dolby Digital 5.1 mix that was on the Blu-ray and DVD. We now have an outstanding Dolby Atmos mix. It's a very dominant track that carries a wallop, but it's never forced. There is plenty of activity around the soundstage that's dynamic and nuanced. Height channels sucks you right into the atmosphere of the film with helicopters flying by in certain scenes and some nice use of overhead effects and room echoes that delivers. The bass and subwoofer booms carries a lot of weight to the low ends and heft from the film's music tracks to various gunfire and shotgun blasts that has some nice bang and boom to them. Dialogue is rendered exceptionally well, very clean and clear and easy to understand, with neither music or sound effects ever drowning out the dialogue. Alright, so my 4K UHD presentation of Training Day, I'm giving it a resounding 5 out of 5. Ditch that dated Blu-ray or DVD and add this to your collection today. But now I want to hear your opinion on this. I want to hear your voice added to this conversation. When you look at the differences here between the two different formats, the Blu-ray and the 4K, which do you think looks better? Let me know over in the comments. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out and hanging out with me with this 4K comparison review. As always, keep doing your part in keeping physical media alive, and I'll see you next time.